if you set a goal and you don't see any disadvantages and you're like jumping up and down, yeah, woo, yeah, I'm going to have this amazing body. I'm going to love it. I'm going to have so much energy. I'm going to be fit and tight and toned and big muscles. You're not seeing all of the stress and the pressure and the obstacles and the challenges that you're going to have to go through to get that body. So it's like, if you get all elated and happy and excited about your goals, you're setting yourself up for a big crash.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and afternoon for some. This is episode 7 of the High Performance Management Podcast with myself, KOREE, and we've got Mitch Ping here today, who's a mental, physical, and spiritual mentor for people, and philosopher. Loves learning, and I'm really excited to really dive deep. I say that a lot, dive deep, but like I know this is going to go to subatomic levels in this conversation. So I'm very interested to see where we explore. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on today, Mitch. How about we just start with introducing yourself, like kind of what was your journey into mentoring and coaching people?
Thanks for having me, KOREE. It's good to be on, and everyone listening, get strap in. We're gonna go deep, like KOREE said, into the ball pit.
I love it.
And into the stars. So I started out probably 6 years ago doing personal training, and I remember the very first $60, I think it was $50 cash I got. So my client handed it to me, and I was like, oh my, like what? It doesn't even feel like I'm working. Like this is crazy that I get paid to just do something that I absolutely love, because I always thought that sounded cool. Like, yeah, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I'm kind of fucking lazy. I don't want to work. I just want to sit on my ass and do nothing, right? And get lots of money, like most people, I think, fantasize about. But when you just do what you love and then you can earn money that way, it's just it's a whole different ball game. So I did that. I got my money from personal training. Like, this is amazing. I kept going down that rabbit hole, learning everything I could about physiology and the body. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm giving people the best training plan. I'm giving people the best diet plan, but I just can't wrap my head around getting these people to focus on their sleep or meditate or, find more fulfilling strategies for stress dealing like at work or their relationships. And I was just like hitting a wall, and I was like, this is fucking, I can't handle it. So I did some more courses on mindset, and that's where we both I think you've done some Mojo stuff as well. So I got into Mojo Master, did Thrive Time, quit my PT job. I was like, fuck this, it's all about mindset, right? So I went from it's all about the body to it's all about the mind, right? And then I went really hard at mindset, started mindset coaching people. I found that to be really fulfilling. But then again, I hit another wall, and I was like, well, I'm helping people with their mindset, but there's still like, where's their fulfilling vision and their purpose? And, that I can still help them with I have such a wealth of knowledge with body and training and looking good, feeling good. And I was like, well, let me just add that in. So now I do a bit more of both, and I combine my personal training skills with my mindset skills. And then now I'm diving a lot deeper into the more astronomical subatomic things with, creating a vision, connecting to your purpose, meditating on the beach with incense, but making money, having a fulfilling life, having cool relationships.
The sage. Need the sage as well. Gotta get rid of them bad energies.
Which I used to think was so ridiculous.
Same,
like,
hey.
What the fuck? You're gonna feel my fucking energy? Like, what's that? Like that?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
But
now
what's a vibe?
yeah. Now I'm getting really, really into it. I'm meeting so many people that are like super connected spiritually. So I just like to combine those three areas, and I'm working diligently planning my mission to work on the other areas of life. But I feel like the mental, physical, spiritual areas for me is where I'm most certain and most empowered. So I love learning and teaching about that, and also expand other areas as I go along, because I'm young, so are you. Got a lot to live, so a lot to live for, a lot to give.
Yeah,
So,
I actually really love how you framed spirituality as your mission and your purpose and vision, because that is it. Like, I've kind of come to a similar realization as well as I've gone through very similarly. Like, I do chiropractic. I'm doing my studies in that.
oh, no way.
Yeah, so like I'm very like, hence the fucking thing there,
Yeah.
which I used to study. But like, yeah, and I worked in a gym as well, and I did bodybuilding, and then yeah, same thing. I shifted to mindset because like personally, I battled with depression when I was younger and addictions, and
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm also coming into a lot of like hermetic principles now. The Kabbalah I went into, and like deep vibrational sciences now, and I'm like,
Yeah.
holy shit, like this is crazy stuff. But yeah, that's actually very true, because it's like a lot of people might say mission and vision and purpose is more like, I don't know, mindset type of deal, but it really is spiritual, isn't it? Like, I mean, we can agree on a term what spiritual means, but in terms of alignment, maybe is like a better term. But yeah, I really like that. Maybe I'd like to dive into that a bit. So your introduction to spirituality then, or your whatever spirituality means to you, like what was kind of the intro? You read a book, you maybe experienced a synchronicity, and you're like, I need to prove this with a scientific method. Like, what was that? I don't know.
I think being spiritual is, how I would define it, is being aware of the divine magnificence
Mm.
of the universe. So whether that's, having your firstborn child, having a tear, getting married, having a tear of, goosebumps. So anytime you feel love, presence, gratitude, inspiration, wisdom, or enthusiasm, they're the 6 transcendental feelings, right? They transcend above the animalistic seeking, avoiding, fears, stresses,
Mhm.
emotions that cloud our judgment and create noise in our brain. So anytime you're having an emotion that's not love, presence, gratitude, wisdom, inspiration, enthusiasm, you're in your lower mind. And to me, you're not being spiritual, you're being more animalistic, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. We're gonna need those in order to guide us to our spiritual path. So that's how I would define being spiritual: is anytime you feel love, presence, gratitude, inspiration, enthusiasm, and you are aware of the fucking absolute beauty of life, because it's
Would you say
really
that
incredible.
those 6 states, would you call it a state?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Those 6 states, would you say that's kind of like analogous with being center, like a
Yes.
lion,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like the yin and the yang? It's kind of
Mhm.
the equalizer between the two. And yeah, that's interesting. Okay. And so like how have you found in your own personal life coming to terms with like what these states are, and like have you seen it personally change how you experience things? Like what's that like for you? Because I
I
don't
think
think it's like quite easy, one, being aware of emotions. A lot of people are, like you said, in that lower reactive state. But then
yeah.
once you start becoming aware, it's like it's almost like you like the Plato's cave wall. You're
Yeah.
leaning,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
That's
like,
exactly
fuck,
what it is. Yeah.
yeah. So like, yeah, I know. Maybe dive into that. Like, how has it changed, and how do you even teach that?
Well, I had a conversation about this with my uncle, who's a professor in philosophy,
Okay.
and
Love
he's got a PhD as well, and so he's pretty switched on. And I kept asking him all these logical questions. He's like, Mitch, you're not getting it. It's being able to just let go and be present and be aware of things around you. It's not stop trying to justify and create logistics and logic and whatever. Just be present. And I'm like, and I did that, and I got really aware, and I was so grateful and so much love. But the paradox of that is, well, fuck. In order to feel love, it's being present. But in order to teach someone, in order to have coaching with someone, to mentor them onto a journey, to empower them, it's being able to break that down and explain it logically with reason. So the way I'll do it is I get someone to go to a moment or feel a feeling that they've had, maybe anger, maybe sadness. And I just ask them, okay, well, what are you comparing that to? Because life is a game of comparisons, and we can only perceive something if we have an equal and exact opposite to contrast it with.
Yeah.
So if I'm in a pitch black room, I can't see anything. It's black. If I'm in an all white cave in Antarctica and it's a windstorm, I'm not going to be able to see anything. I'm not going to be able to perceive anything. So all of our senses perceive things in a mortal world, right? In a transient world.
Yeah, like you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm looking at you right now, I'm comparing it to all of the other Zoom conversations of every other time I've sat down on my computer. I'm focused on you, my senses are perceiving you, and I've kind of just blurred out the background.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson says this really well. We see three things. Things that are good, things that are bad, and then everything else is irrelevant.
Yeah.
So everything that you're focused towards and you're going towards is good, and then the bad things you're trying to run away from. Now, I think that's not very spiritual. That's not an empowered way to live, is to run and seek prey and run from predator. That's an animalistic way to live. So to teach it, all you need to do is identify, okay, what are you seeking and what are you trying to run away from? So I'll just ask, like, what's something you're seeking right now, KOREE?
Probably seeking the completion of my studies because it's taking quite a long time, and I feel like it's spreading me quite thin.
Okay, so KOREE, would you say, like, what are you going to achieve once you finish your studies?
Knowledge, experience, capacity
Okay,
to.
who has more knowledge and experience than you perceive, and who are you comparing yourself to who has more knowledge and more experience, more expertise?
I'd say like Joe Dispenza, Demartini both come from chiropractic backgrounds, and
Yep. Okay. I fucking love those guys. So right now, I can see in your brain that you are seeking the completion of your studies because you feel you got to be the same level as Joe Dispenza and Demartini. What if I told you that everything you saw in Demartini and Dispenza, you have it in your soul right now, because you wouldn't be able to perceive it unless you have it inside of you.
Totally. Yeah.
So it's being able to go through the Demartini method, which I use with clients, and being able to completely dissolve that and be present in your studies. Because if you're seeking more, like people in relationships, if they're seeking a greater relationship, then they're in a rush.
Yeah.
And they're not present with the divine magnificence and the beauty of that energy they already have. It's just in a different form.
And then so like what you're saying is by doing that, because this is making sense. Like it's funny, I know what you're talking about, but it's like it's cool having it spoken to me, because you're like, you're right, when you're not present, then like you can't focus, and you can't focus,
exactly, and you miss things.
You can't put the energy. You if you aim at everything, you hit nothing.
Yeah,
and it's like that's true. That's very true. Is that what you mean? Am I getting that? Like by contrasting and creating this kind of vacuum of like, I'm trying to go to there, it also hitting everything instead of like a focal point of the present moment. Is that kind of what you mean? Like, am I getting that?
Well, any time we're comparing things, our minds can't be present, because I'm looking at an apple and I'm thinking of a fucking orange.
That's true.
But if you're looking at the apple and you're going, I'm so grateful for fruit, to be able to eat, for my body, for the trees, for the soil, for the dirt, for the stars, for the moon, for the sky, you just like, that's gratitude. And that's like, you're not you dissolve the comparison. So what I was talking about before is a way to explain it, and for anyone listening or watching, it's what emotion or what content is absolutely consuming your mind, and it's just helping you to be aware of what you're comparing it to. So if you're consumed by anger right now, what moment are you thinking of where you're calm? Or what's the opposite of anger to you, the emotion that you're feeling? What's the opposite? And then go to that moment and think, okay, well, why do I have a fantasy about this? Like, why do you have a fantasy about being as good as DiMartini and Dispenza?
Good question.
What's
I suppose I kind of get into this paradoxical thinking, because like I'm aware of that,
yeah.
the comparison, but then I also go, well, it's also necessary. I feel like, or maybe you can enlighten me on like another way, because I see how the benefit of using that tool of like balancing out the perception of someone and making it neutral so you're more present can help you like achieve a better result on the thing. But then it's like, I also believe that like the kind of like the observer effect, like once you do start to look at like someone and model them, you then become that as well. But then is that like where you start injecting values and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would
But to
say
answer your question, why? I suppose it's like an aspiration. Like I know that through the process of like trying to mimic and do things like that, I'll attain certain knowledge that will be able to be used in society. That's how I think. Of course, I'll do my own experiences and things like that, but like that's how I look at it. I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean though. Yeah.
Well, it's tricky because the people that we relate to the most are usually, we have a lot of similarities.
Mm.
So I had this with DiMartini, and I'm still going through it because I consume so much DiMartini content and do all the courses and do all of his work and read all of his books and yada yada. I was doing the same thing as you. I was mimicking him. Like, oh, okay, he's read 30,000 books. I'm gonna read a lot. He does tons of work. Okay, I'm gonna do lots of like mindset work. And he read a dictionary. I'm gonna read a dictionary. He didn't, work out all day, so I'm not gonna work out all day. So that was where we differed. It was all good for the first bit of like, okay, he has a value on learning. I have a value on learning. I'm going to do what he does for learning. But that's just one thing that we had similar values in. The difference was I have a much higher value on working out and nature and my dogs. So there was a conflict of interest where I was trying to be like DiMartini, which was helping to a point. But we are different people because everyone has, how all the snowflakes are different. Have you ever heard that? Every snowflake that's full, they've never found two snowflakes. Same with your thumbprint. Everyone has completely different thumbprints.
Yeah. Would you call it like human design?
Hey?
Would you call it like human design?
I don't know. I haven't heard that. What do you mean?
So it's like we're all different in terms of what we perceive based on things, and our value hierarchies are different, like just like that. Is that like
so just like a thumbprint and a snowflake, every individual is completely different with their values. For everyone that has a high value on kids, there's going to be someone who has a high value that's not on kids, that's on work. Like I say this to mums all the time, and mums go, "Oh, how could anyone not love their children and want to?" I was like, someone says, "Oh, well, I have to feed them lunch and I have to take them to school." I was like, "No, you don't. That's actually you value it. So why are you fucking complaining about it? Anything you do continuously that you don't need to be reminded for is a fucking value. So if you start complaining about it, you're just comparing yourself to someone else, thinking you should be someone else. But if you're fucking doing it on your own, it's who you are. Our actions represent who we are most. And if you're complaining about the actions that you've done or you're allowing to happen, there's an unconscious fucking reason and a pattern that you haven't broken down to."
Yeah,
So
that can I sorry, I have to dive. What is that? Like when people go, I have to do this, but like quite obviously they care about it. It's like people who are like, oh, I want to make a lot of money, or I don't want to have to work all the time. I just want to make a lot of money. And it's like, well, you could be homeless and not have to work all the time. But it's
yeah,
like what's that? Like what is that? Like is it's like a cognitive dissonance? Like is that what you mean? There's something else there that they've got to deal with? Like they say, oh, I have to do this, but then they keep doing it anyway, even though like maybe they do actually value doing it. Like is there like a disconnect there with like their purpose, mission? Like I
yes,
don't know.
yeah. So they're completely disconnected from who they are and their mission. So they're like a leech or a tick. They're trying to suck the blood and latch on to someone else. And they're placing their happiness and they're putting that expectation on someone else. And they're saying, okay, this is someone that's, you get this all the time on social media. Oh my God, look how big their ass is. Look how many followers they have. They must be so happy. They must have so much money. Or you see a surgeon, they're like, oh, they have so much money. Wow. Life must be so easy. So they go, oh, okay. What's that surgeon do? Oh, he works really hard. He's got a degree. Okay, I'm going to go to university and get a degree. And then they're forcing themselves to do it, where it's like you're actually comparing your life to theirs and you're not seeing the whole picture. You're not seeing the pain and the stress and their broken family and their horrible health and their fucking addictions and all this, the fucking pain that they go through with work and
all the
you're not.
upsides.
What's that?
All the upsides, not the down.
Yeah. So I think, but to answer the question of like, you keep like someone who goes to work and they complain about work constantly, but they keep going to work. They don't change their work. They don't change anything they're doing. Anything someone does that they keep doing and they do, no matter if it's intentional or unintentional, they only do it because they perceive they're going to get more benefits than drawbacks. Everything you do, it's because you perceive there's more benefits than drawbacks. So if you are doing something and you're saying, oh, I have to go to work sucks, oh my God. Okay, well, what are the benefits they're getting out of work? Because I guarantee they see more benefits of going to work for their highest values, for the things they care most about. So maybe they love money, right? They love money more than they love work. So they just go to work and then they get lots of money, but they hate the work, but they like the money. And there's a disconnect. Just like before, I was saying, if you compare an apple to an orange, you're disconnected. Your mind's creating noise and there's emotion. But if you say it's the same, right? Then it's just one big thing that you get to be grateful for.
Yeah. No, that's the $1 million question. And that's I think a lot of people are stuck in that pattern of reaction and not knowing exactly like what their values are. And like that's an interesting one. I guess that's like kind of what all the deep wisdom and spirituality is, because then it just gets passed down through like schools of thought. And like, I don't know, maybe we can go there. Like, you know, we're in this society where we're not told to think like that. Do you think there's something nefarious to that, or is that by design and everything is as it is?
It's a conspiracy.
Could be. I don't know.
I think that's a good question. I do see evidence. Well, the way I see it is people are getting more unfulfilled, right? So the more unfulfilled we get, the more we fall into the lower animal mind, and the more the animal mind is going to seek impulses, which is like money.
Yeah.
So these big corporations, they're not after, then most of them, there are some, most of them want to get lots of money and you know, maximize profits, right? It's all about the bottom line. They just
It's a business. It makes sense. Yeah. We live in capitalism. That's what I mean. Like, it's necessary, right?
Yeah. So the more that people want these big companies, the more they try and get money, the more they're gonna take advantage of people, and the more
Mm.
these big people are going to try and get more for less, which is a fantasy. You can't, anytime you try and get something for nothing, or you receive nothing, or you give nothing for something, then you've broken the law of the universe. The universe is going to try and bring that back together.
Yeah.
So we are living in a time where Nietzsche said this fucking 100 years ago. He said, watch out, there's going to be a big shift. And that's what we
The death
experienced
of
with
God,
COVID.
yeah. So
Hey?
you're referring to the death of God? Like
Yeah.
that's yeah. And
Yeah.
that's can we go into that? That's interesting.
Well, Nietzsche said in his book, Thus Spake Zarathustra. He also said it in one of his early books, but it's most quoted from his most famous works is Thus Spoke Zarathustra.
I just
Where
bought that.
you just bought it.
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so good. Now you got me thinking about Nietzsche. So this crazy guy comes, this hermit, this sage who's living in the mountains. You know, he meditates all day. He's the wisest of them all. He runs down into a square village where there's people around, and he goes, "God is dead. God is dead. God remains dead." And everyone's looking at him like, "What the fuck's this guy mean?" He doesn't mean God, or my interpretation. He didn't mean that God is actually dead. He means that our connection to God is dying.
Mm.
So when we're not connected to our mission, and we don't have the intention of living with purpose and getting meaning and fulfillment and having love, presence, gratitude, wisdom, inspiration, enthusiasm, we're going to fall into the lower mind where we're seeking and avoiding, and we want lots of money because money is good and money gives us power. I'm going to fuck people over. I'm going to go through all of the data of a human and optimize how much TikTok fucking scrolling they can do. And we maximize, okay, how can we make this food saltier and sweeter and fatter so we can get them addicted? Because the more we can get these people fucking addicted, the more we can hook them in, the more money we get, the more power we have, right? But then at the same time, it's called the Law of Aristic Escalation. Anytime you try and get something for nothing, the other side steps in. So all these companies are trying to get lots of money for nothing. Well, you got other people stepping up, and now there's all this, you know, this leftist kind of side of all these people trying to stand up for rights and, you know, fighting the government and all these war. There's the other sides coming, all these social media warriors coming out and getting conspiracy theories and all this kind of shit.
Yeah.
But it's all just going to come.
I'm definitely, I would say I entertain conspiracy theories, more so in the past. Because then I've come to realize that maybe I do that because of a dissatisfaction with my own reality. So therefore, like focusing on something like, you know, these kind of distracts me from that. So I found that, like, folks, once I started you being more aligned, like I focus less on them. I'm aware of them, mainly more so in the fact that, because these big companies do run everything, and the bottom line matters most over humans. Like even in the FDA, right? Like they're more about lobbyists than like actually food and drugs that is being imported. Like that's, I don't know. I think it's like, how do you navigate all that? Like, and I guess this is maybe I'm the emergence of like the opposite side of that. And like, that's why there's people like yourself as well, like teaching people to be more spiritual and becoming more aligned. Like, what's the flip side? Because then, like, once this builds up, what is that like? I don't want to say idealistic, but like once people like, what does the world look like when people start acting more aligned? Like there will be like a bit of an equalizer, right? Like, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, everything already is in balance.
Yeah,
It is.
that's
It is.
true.
There's a lot more people, and I would do some more research on this because it is a lot more obvious because of the news and stuff, and we get pounded with the government and the big companies. But behind the scenes, there are a lot of people who are, like you said, you are the counterbalancer who is looking into conspiracies, and they're not believing the government and all this kind of thing. So the other side's there, and eventually it will surface and it will come into balance.
Yeah. Let's go into like physiology principles. I love that. That's a big thing for
Yeah.
me. Obviously, you got spiritual. You can, there's like I'm not an expert on it. I started looking at like Kundalini experience and things like that, and how you can like expansion of energy randomly, like simultaneously at like one point, and that get like adrenaline and things like that. But then there's like also the other aspect of moving your body and having correct circulation and food and things like that. Like, what things do you follow? Because I know you said you were just studying ultra like into mindset, and you kind of neglected that. Like, yeah, kind of what's your experience in moving your body and the right type of nutrition? Like, do you follow something like that? Like, what do you do with your clients?
I would say the most important things for your physical health is it's a lot to do with the mind. I always come back to the mind. There is I'll get to a few things that I love for your actual body that's got not really much to do with your mind. But the first thing would be, okay, what do you want with your body? What would you love for your body, for the way you look, for the way you feel, for the way you move? And define clearly, okay, why do I need a body? What's the point of this body? Because if you're not grateful for your body, you're not going to get more.
Mm.
So what, you're in Melbourne, right?
Perth.
Perth? Oh,
Yeah.
cool. So if I come to Perth, I was going to see KOREE, and I'm like, I've got this cool book here for you, KOREE. So here you go, KOREE. You look at the book and you go, Joseph Campbell, this is a piece of shit. And you just throw it in the trash, which I don't think you would do. I think you'd be like, whoa.
That's actually the next one I want to buy.
So I give you a gift and you throw that gift in the fucking bin and you light it on fire and you piss on it. Am I going to give you another gift? Am I going to come over? No way. So all of these people, and this is the whole thing about social media and big companies and supplements and all this whole fucking thing, is their actual intention for most of them is to make you feel fucking shit about your body, is to make you compare yourself to them, make you feel like you don't have something and you need to get this thing, right? Marketing. And they make you feel shit and ungrateful for your body. Like, imagine if there was an ad that's like,
which is the comparison we're talking about.
yeah, exactly, right? It all comes back to comparison. Imagine if there was an ad that was like, hey, you don't need anything to be more fulfilled and have more energy and have more love for your body. You are beautiful just the way you are. Drink some water, go for a walk, focus on your breathing and get a good sleep. Namaste. No one's going to fucking buy. Oh, by the way, buy the t-shirt. Like, no one's going to buy it. That's not. But if you say, hey, this big fucking clearly steroided out fucking bodybuilder who has been juicing to the gills for the last 20 years says, get my fat burner. It works in 20 minutes. Right? It's like fucking so stupid. So I think once you create a purpose for your body and you're grateful for your body, that's really the foundation for all of your results to build up. And it always comes back for that. If I want to, so I'm getting into running a lot, I'm doing ultra marathons or training for them. And
yeah, I've seen you doing that actually. That surprised me so much. Like out of nowhere, I was like, looked at, I'm like, oh, it's just like a run. Well, it was like 60 something Ks, and then like you did 100 and something. Is that, did I read that right?
hey,
Like you did like 100 and something K?
no. So I'm doing 115K ultra trail run next month. And I'm training for, that's actually a training run for next year. In April, I'm going to do 321 kilometers over a few days, obviously. But yeah, so I was thinking, okay, cool. I have this cool goal because I've, had this vision and I'm like, that's what I'm going to do with my body. Now, before I was actually training that intensely, well, before I set that big goal, I was getting sore. I wasn't really working out. I wasn't really that inspired. But as soon as I set that goal, I was like, fuck, my body has a purpose now. I've got to like really focus on what I'm eating, how I'm sleeping, am I stretching, what's my training plan? And it completely changes my perspective. So you're looking for that, for a goal that's going to give you some sort of focus and direction. because the world of your body, like as humans, our sight is the most acute out of all of our senses. So if
Yeah,
you're
it's the
not,
biggest part, hey, in our brain.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're not focused with what you want your body to look like, what you want to do with it, then you're going to get so easily distracted. Everyone you look at is going to have something you perceive you don't, and you're going to be in a rush, and you're going to try these fad diets, and you're going to get sucked into these bullshit supplements, and it's going to stress you out, which is just counterproductive. So it's like, okay, create a purpose for your body. What is it? And I also have another vision which really inspired me as well for my body is I'm 120 years old and I'm playing with my great grandkids.
Mate, that spun me out. I say all the time, I'm going to live to 120. Exactly that. That's so fucking weird, bro. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
we're the same person.
That's so funny because like my goal is I want to open up a preventative medical center and do like anti-aging. Like I just dived so deep into David Sinclair.
Oh, cool.
Like anti-aging, like what even is aging? Aging's a disease now. Like it's actually like a lot of things is our environment that's actually stopping it. And like I truly think by next 10, 20 years, like there will be all these things. Like, but you can have metformin, which like stops the degradation of DNA, which is the diabetes drug. And it's like what? There's so much stuff out there. And it's like, yeah,
Wow.
really interesting. But yeah, sorry, I just like I
That's
say the
good.
same. Like 120, that's my vision of myself. And then it's like I wrote down a question like, what is vision? So
Okay,
like,
let me finish this.
yeah,
Let me
yeah.
finish this. So I had this vision and this goal, right? So now I'm more focused and now I'm on purpose. Okay, cool. I have a purpose for my body. I'm grateful for where my body's at because it's a journey. And I'm like, okay, awesome. This is like, I get to see the evolution of like, my progress. Awesome. Like if you have a goal and you're not spontaneously taking action towards it, if you're not inspired by it, if you're not tracking your goal, it's a fucking fantasy. Okay. Any goal that you have, you're not tracking it, you're not planning it, you're not inspired by it, you're not taking action towards it. It's a fucking fantasy. You might need to change the label of it, completely dump it and recreate something else. But it's time to reflect on those goals because they're fantasies,
Yeah.
right? So now I have a true goal. I have a purpose for my body. I'm grateful for my body. Okay, now the work with the body begins. Now I can start going for walking and flushing out my lymphatic system, getting fresh air, working on my posture. I'm not fucking looking down at a phone screen. I'm enjoying the fresh air. I'm moving my legs. Walking is the most complex movement that humans can do. So we're working our brains,
Yeah.
right?
Doing it
Walking
barefoot
is
as well.
unbelievable how fucking powerful walking is. Breathing. Oh my God, absolutely incredible. Nasal breathing, right? When you breathe through your nose, it acts like a filter for the air. It actually helps you increase your immune system. It helps you flush it. When you breathe through your nose, it expands the diaphragm. When that diaphragm moves inside your body, the lymphatic system, the toxins in your body start flushing, and it's like a pump. So when you're walking and breathing through your nose, right, and you're looking at the tops of the trees, I like that. You're flushing all of the toxins and the bullshit out of your body, and it's going to help you go do a poo, right? That's when the water comes in. Make sure you're drinking water as well. So walking, breathing, and water flush out all the toxins, right? And then get a good sleep, right? And then, most importantly, is be grateful.
Yeah.
Because if you're not grateful for what you have, you're not going to get more to be grateful for. And you're not going to get more. And like people who hate their jobs, right? They hate their jobs. They're unfulfilled in their families and they don't like how they look. They're like, oh, I just have no energy. You go, okay, well, if someone gave you more energy, how would you spend that energy? They would probably just spend more time on social media or getting angry at their kids or fucking eating more food if they had more energy. The reason you don't have more energy is because you're not inspired and you're not grateful. You don't have a purpose for the energy if you got it. Like if you gave $1 million to a fucking homeless person, what are they going to do with it? They're just going to buy $1 million worth of meth and die, or something, right? If you give $1 million to Warren Buffett, he's going to funnel it through his philanthropy efforts and help some people in South Africa or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're going to, oh, okay, cool. So who are you going to give $1 million to? Someone who is not empowered with it, or someone who's going to be empowered? If you empower yourself mentally and spiritually with a purpose and a cause, and you know what you're going to go after, and you know what you're going to do with the body once you have it, then it just comes spontaneously. You just get it.
That's so interesting how setting like a direction in your own mind, like we'll get metaphysical with it, because like having that then like highlights in your like brain the things to focus on, and then it's like what's that? That's crazy.
Well, that's when you're in the executive center in the brain.
Yeah.
So any lower minded emotions, like I was saying before, the 6 transcendental feelings: love, presence, gratitude, wisdom, inspiration, enthusiasm, they activate the prefrontal cortex, the higher part of the brain, the executive function of the brain, so you can have executive and governance over yourself. People live in their lower mind, so they need governments from the government. That's what the government's for. If everyone
I like that.
was self-actualized and lived in their high part of the brain, you wouldn't just go out and kill people or rob or be reminded to pay your taxes, because you would have governance, and you're like, oh, I want to have clean streets and the park mode, and I want the streets to be fixed and the sewage to work well. I'm just going to pay my tax. But people now is like, oh, fucking tax, fucking this. And
it's definitely a shift in perspective though as well. Like that's like even that in itself, like if it's the frame of, oh, it's going to come back to the community. And is that what you mean? Like even the fact that you can have that thought as being in the executive center?
Yes.
Because it's thinking greater. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's literally just like you said, it lights up that front part of the brain, the most evolved part of our brain. And that's who we are, is our evolved part of our brain.
Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder what that's going to evolve to after, because
in like 10,000 years.
Yeah, well, because like we the reason we default to the default mode network of being animalistic is because for millions of years we were just like, like do you know what I mean? Like it was necessary. It was binary.
Go, oh.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, you said it before. It's also necessary to be animalistic, but we don't have to do it all the time now. You mentioned a few things, because it's still something I've struggled with. Like, how do you know if something's a fantasy or not? Because obviously, like, you can have goals, and I think this is actually a big reason that people probably don't know why they might, like 99% of the population already don't set goals, and then those that do set goals, is like another slim percentage that actually achieve them. So it's like the thing that I'm learning from you now is maybe that fantasy, would you say, is kind of a reason as to why people aren't achieving their goals, even if they're writing them and they feel like they're doing something, right? Like a bit of mental masturbation. They're just like, yeah, I'm writing these goals. Like, yeah, I feel good that I wrote the goal, but then they're not taking action spontaneously. Like, how do you know if something's a fantasy or not? And what is a fantasy?
So a fantasy, very simply, is when you perceive something has more good than bad, more benefits than drawbacks. If I get $1 million, or you may say that to most people, hey, can I give you $1 million? Not many people are going to go, no, thanks. They're going to go, yeah, give it to me, right? Because we live in a world where it's a lot about money. I mean, money is super important, and money represents value, and money is the exchange that we make, then we can do it fairly. Like I was saying before, if you try and get something for nothing, then you're out of balance, and it's going to create emotions. But if you say, hey, KOREE, your coaching is X amount of dollars for X amount of time spent, okay, perfect, I give you some money. I'm not going to go, hey, KOREE, I've got like a tomato tree out the back, can I give you like 100 tomatoes for some coaching? You'd be like, no. No, thank you.
Unless I really love tomatoes.
So you go up to someone and you go, hey, do you want $1 million? And they go, yeah, because they're not seeing the disadvantages of that goal of the having $1 million. So it's counterintuitive, but you think of your biggest goals or the things that you want to achieve, and you go, okay, well, what would the disadvantage of that be? Right? So I just bought my dog a few months ago, and before I got him, I was like, okay, what would the disadvantages be of having a dog? And I was like, okay, I have to pick up the dog poo. It's going to wake me up in the night. I might have to take it to the vet. It's going to be annoying walking them every day. I've got to train him. It's going to be an ongoing cost. I'm going to be really connected to him. And you write down all of the disadvantages. And what you're actually doing is you're mitigating the risks, and you're having foresight, the forebrain for foresight. And you're figuring out, okay, what's all the possible things that could go wrong? What are all the obstacles? What are all the things that might bring up some emotions in me? He's barking right now.
Yeah. See, what's that? Guess we're just making meaning from it, but yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
But if I ask, like, when you're 120 years old, can you see he's really going for it? When you're
Luckily, I actually can't hear him, so it's all right.
That's right. Koree, when you're 120 years old, can you see the disadvantages of getting to that age?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a more balanced goal. All right, we're back. My dog was just barking. I had to run off really quickly. So yeah, you can see getting to 120 years old, how it's going to be challenging. It's going to be disadvantages to that. If you set a goal and you don't see any disadvantages, and you're like jumping up and down, yeah, woo, yeah, I'm going to have this amazing body. I'm going to love it. I'm going to have so much energy. I'm going to be fit and tight and toned and big muscles. You're not seeing all of the stress and the pressure and the obstacles and the challenges that you're going to have to go through to get that body. So it's like, if you get all elated and happy and excited about your goals, you're setting yourself up for a big crash.
Right.
So I would prefer to set my own goals and help my clients set goals where they're balanced, and they go, oh, okay, I want to have a more loving and fulfilling relationship with my family. I want to have a more purposeful career with more focus. I want to be empowered with my body and be fit, flexible, and energetic to get through the whole day and have unlimited energy the whole day. Oh, I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. It's less sexy, but it's more consistent in the long term.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. It's not sexy, it's not appealing, but it's not appealing to goals that aren't congruent and in alignment with your soul and who you are. When you set a goal that's true to you, it will inspire you, and you won't care that it's not, because the love and gratitude, those feelings are so much greater than happiness or excitement or elation. It's just so, you just feel so connected and you feel present. So it's like, hey, stop going after goals, these big fantasy goals that bring up these happy emotions, because that's a sign and a symptom of you comparing it to a nightmare you're trying to run away from. So you can't have a fantasy, a philia, without a nightmare, a phobia. So anytime you have a big fantasy of these people, I want $1 million, it's because they have a nightmare of being broke, or they have a nightmare of financial stress. Hey, when you got $1 million, do you think you're still going to have some form of financial stress?
Yeah.
You go, oh yeah, probably. Right.
And so, like, living more aligned and after doing, the work and finding out more about yourself is when the nightmares and the dreams are balanced and, at a stable level with each other. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And you're going to ask me before what a vision is.
Yeah.
So if you
more on like a deep, like, metaphysical level, because like I don't think we can actually explain what the mind's eye is yet in science or like in a logical way, but like you can just visualize things. Or maybe I'm just ignorant. Maybe there is something. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's like, because I've heard the thought that our brains are receivers. And it's actually like, and they've got some studies like measuring like gaseous clouds around us and like that we can receive information more about. I suppose like Jung kind of goes into it with his collective consciousness and like the different archetypes that we somewhat all have. But then it's like when we have these visions about like what we should do, like it's in the current paradigm anyway, that's technically coming from past experiences, is it not? Or is like, what's your thought of that? It doesn't have to be right or wrong. Just I'm interested. I think it's an interesting topic.
Yeah. So a fantasy or a nightmare are created through memory, the past, or imagination, the future.
Imagination's future. Okay, I like that.
So there's a difference between having a memory or having an imagination or imagining something and having a vision. I define a vision as something that is congruent and in alignment with your own soul. It is love, it is presence, it is gratitude, it is inspiration, it is wisdom, and it is enthusiasm. So if you have a vision of a goal, and it's true to you, it's your destiny, it doesn't feel like it's in the future. It feels like you've already done it. It feels like you're present in the moment. If you truly love someone, you feel their love irrelative of time and space. It doesn't matter if they're on the other side of the world. It doesn't matter if they're fucking dead.
That's a very good way of doing it. Yeah, I actually understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You just feel their love.
Yeah.
Right? If you have a fantasy about someone, if you're infatuated by them, then you're going to fear their loss. You're going to seek them. So a vision is just something that makes you feel present. It makes you feel love. It makes you feel grateful.
Yeah.
And it could be anything, really.
Right. I want to. Jordan Peterson's coming in. I think it's December or November, and I was like thinking, what's a question I would ask him, and it was like, what comes first, or if it does at all, perception or belief, or then belief or perception, because to perceive, right? Like you've got to also first have an understanding. Like photons hit my eye. It's a certain frequency which registered to my brain. A synapses, oh yes, but based on a past experience, we can create meaning that this is the color red. So it's like, but perceiving itself is like just, I guess that is it the conscious awareness of like the interaction in my eyes, or is it the interaction with meaning I've had through past experiences? Like that's what I feel like I'd ask him. I have no clue.
Yeah, interesting. That'd be a good one to hear him talk about.
Yeah, but like, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that our beliefs and perceptions are the same, really, because if you're a tiny little ant, this ant believes that in order to live, I must go and get food. So I'm going to perceive the food and perceive the food as good. So I'm perceiving the food as good, and I have a belief in food. So your perceptions and your beliefs, I think, are one in the same. I mean, you can definitely split them up and try and figure out
that's actually
what came first, but they were birthed from each other. Because you can't have one with, it's like the chicken. What came first, the chicken or the egg?
That's exactly what I came to as well, because I pondered on it for way too long. I was like, it's definitely a chicken or an egg thing, right?
Yeah, but it's like,
but then it's like, I know, like technically, if you go real like into the DNA, like how our brain matter is formed, there'll be a certain structure that comes from the design in the DNA, which is passed through ancestral, evolution. And it's like what my grandfather did and his grandfather and whatever, like they did certain actions. Like, for example, me, I've trained in the gym, and I have a inkling that that's stored in my DNA and in my brain structure. And when I have kids, there would be some type of encoding that's stored there that they have access to. So it's like, I don't even know where I'm going with it, but it's just like thoughts I've had about, like, it goes back to the whole brain receiving information. We receive it through like, I don't know, a meaning and a belief, but like some beliefs are deep within and in the psyche. And like, I don't know, maybe this is why Nietzsche went crazy. Just keep going down. Do you know what I mean? Have you
Yeah,
had
yeah.
similar thoughts about like that type of stuff? Like, we have beliefs that I guess like transformed into us from our parents, or I don't know, maybe you just have like an intuition. Like, is intuition real? Is that like a gut feeling? Like, what's that?
I think all of these factors, like your ancestors, your biology, your psychology, your environment, your sociology, and all play a role in your psychology, which I think is probably the highest of
Right.
them, like the top that rules them.
It goes back to the
And
mind again. Yeah.
yeah, and I think all of that stuff, like your ancestors and the current environment that you live in, they are just helping you to unlock the love and the wisdom that you have inside of you. So, or everything that your ancestors have experienced, whether they think it's good or bad, have passed it. They pass on their judgments in order for you to learn.
Mm.
So my mum and my dad, they had emotions, they had judgments, and they created me, and then they've passed it on to me. And I see the point of evolution is for me to learn from their judgments and transcend the judgments to a higher judgment. Because anything you transcend, you give rise to, and you create more judgments and more emotions and more stress, so that you can keep growing. So
That's a paradox too. It's like you want to be better than your parents, but then your kids will want to be better than you, and it's like, yeah, interesting.
well, I think yeah, no one's better or worse. We're just creating bigger levels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Mm.
This has been a good chat so far.
Yeah, I would be doing this
That's
for
my
freaking another
dogs.
few hours.
What was that, sorry?
I could do this all day.
Me too, honestly. I love it. Yeah. What's what is reality, how we perceive it. It's very interesting to me. Because then it's like I've entertained the idea. So I don't know if you can hear my dog, he's going crazy.
I think I heard something, yeah.
That's all right. We like I've entertained the idea about, like what schizophrenia is, and it's like like you talk about sociology, and it's like what's right or wrong is defined by like the moral constructs of a certain society, and that's kind of like you have to operate within that. And I think it says Isaac Bentov got a book called like something of the pendulum swing, and he's like a physicist and psychologist, and yeah, he talked about how people with schizophrenia were, if you look at like evolution, oh my god, look at evolution as like a bell curve. You've got like the average like everyday people go to work, and then you've got on the left side people who like would beat their chest at their neighbor, and then you've got on the far right like schizophrenics and people that couldn't integrate within society, and then you've got like on the upper standard deviation but not the furthest, you've got people like Einstein and maybe Nikola Tesla, Elon Musk's. Like it's kind of like they can somewhat integrate, but they're just like a bit weird, and they're the ones that kind of in a few evolutions time will become the normal. And yeah, I don't know, it just made me think about people with schizophrenia and how they perceive reality is maybe that's like that's normal to them, and like there's a group of people that you could essentially say they're all together. It's just like I like entertaining the idea of like how do they perceive reality, like how do we even know what's right or wrong? Like who are we to judge? We place judgments, right? But it's like I don't know, I just entertaining that idea of like what is reality, like do we create it? Is it existent? Are we like part of a one piece puzzle? Like I don't know, have you had similar thoughts, or am I crazy? Maybe I'm going
I
to a
think you got
psychosis or something.
schizophrenia. So there's a difference between reality and actuality.
Okay.
Actuality is, again, being spiritually connected and aware of the divine magnificence and beauty of life. So when you combine and integrate the opposites, and you have a state of love and you're connected to your soul, the state of unconditional love, then you're aware. It's like, this is my actuality. This is what life is, this is the universe. It's this state of gratitude. And that's when you apply yourself to those goals that we've been talking about, is when you have a vision and it brings a tear to your eye and you're like, I feel destined for this. This is me. That's who I am. I'm going to go after it. And the voice and the vision on the inside is louder than all of the opinions and criticisms and chastisements on the outside. That's what DeMartini says. So it's so hard to overcome the bullshit opinions and criticisms and rejections and failures on the outside and just be true to you and be true to your own soul. And when you do that, you live in the highest level of reality. You experience most of actuality because you have the most amount of moments of love and gratitude, which is the actuality. Reality is your unbiased, your biased and your lopsided perceptions of the world.
Good. That's it. That's what I need to hear. Let's go. I haven't heard it put in that way. That's it. Yeah, it makes sense. So say that again. So reality is
your biased and lopsided perceptions that create emotions and distort the mind and create noise in the brain.
I love that. That's very good.
So anytime you're emotional or you have noise in the brain and voices in your brain, in your head, that's your reality. That's only you are experiencing that right now. No one else can comprehend what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
That's your reality. Everyone's got a different reality in the lower mind.
Awesome. Oh, that's good. I like that a lot. Just interesting. I love going into these type of topics. Nothing's right or wrong. It's just, where we go. Like, what do you, since we're kind of in the airy fairy land, what do you think about manifestation and, you go a bit into the quantum, like I assume you've been on a similar journey to me. You've kind of read things and you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Like, what's your thoughts on manifestation? Is that something you've seen yourself, or would you have another word for it maybe?
No, I like I think manifestation has a little bit of a hippy dippy stigma behind it, but I don't mind it. I'll use it. I think it's when you're grateful for what you have already and you can identify the different form that it's in, then you get it. Right. So if I'm looking for my soulmate, an intimate partner that I can, share my experiences with and have a family with and all this kind of thing. It's like, okay, what do I want in a soulmate? Okay. I want constant connection. I want to be able to talk to them. I want to be able to listen about their day and help them. I want them to be able to listen to me. I want, to go exercise together. Okay. Everything I just described, I already have in a different form. So I walk with my dog. I'm talking to KOREE. I'm listening to KOREE. Have other clients. I sleep with my dogs. Like anything that I can identify in what I want in a soulmate, I can also identify in what I already have. When you're grateful for what you already have and you're clear on your intentions, what you would like to manifest, then it's manifested.
That's cool. And like manifesting is just, so this is where I hear as well, we just talked about what reality is, but then you hear the idea that manifestation is bringing to reality. So would you say it's bringing to actuality? Is that the correct term?
Manifestation is being aware of actuality.
Being aware. Yeah. So it's already there. And I guess that's like when you have people like Joe Dispenza talking about like when you've got an elevated emotion combined with like gratitude and intention, you just are realizing it's already there, and then your reticular activating system, I guess, would just focus on it more, right?
Yeah.
True. That's cool. I like that.
It's cool
Bang.
stuff.
I think we've been going for about an hour and 20-ish, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
We'll start at 10. Yeah, you said you only got a little bit of time today, so
yeah, we'll need to do another one, mate.
Most people I've had on, I'm like, we're definitely doing another. We do like a long format one, maybe. If you ever come to Perth or if I come to Adelaide, maybe.
That'd be great.
Well, to be fair, I might do a bit more with Mojo, so I'll come in person and do that.
Nice.
Yeah. No, look, I really appreciate the conversations we've had today, Mitch. It's enlightening for me. This is one of my deepest, values is talking about science and consciousness, psychology, learning, mindset, spirituality. So yeah, I really I'm grateful for this conversation we've been able to have. I think there's a lot of really insightful things out there for both of our audiences that you would definitely be able to take away, like I know I already have. So yeah, I really appreciate the time today, mate. Where can people find you?
So hit me up on Instagram, Mitch Ping. That's your MITCHPING. Go over to Instagram, check out my beautiful dog, have a look at some of my quotes, see if you vibe with me. And yeah, I'd love to connect and share with you some of my soul.
And you said you do a podcast as well, or you just interview people, or?
Yeah. I've got a few episodes on the podcast. It's check those out. I've got that in my link in the Instagram if you want to look at my podcast.
Awesome, mate. Well, yeah, again, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.